Hi there, I'm Kristi Whitfield, and this is our Build Back Better series. And today I'm joined by Gina Schaefer from Ace Hardware. Hi, Gina.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So, Ace Hardware is, I'm going to start in a place that I did not know. Ace Hardware is a cooperative, right?
Yes, a purchasing co-op, yes.
Say it again?
A purchasing cooperative.
Purchasing cooperative. So, we see Ace Hardwares everywhere, and, and they are a great brand and locally owned. And I think this is something that I want to sort of amplify because you guys do such great work in our community. Nobody is doing wonderfully during COVID, but I want to say, how are you all doing during these unprecedented times?
Well, we've done well. It's been a challenge, of course. There's a good and a bad side to being considered essential in a retail business. We have about 290 employees, and I would say on any given day, I get thank yous from dozens for being able to stay open, for having a place to go, for having a job. And I certainly feel grateful for the customers who have continued to shop and give us their purchasing dollars throughout this pandemic,
right?
Yeah.
Global pandemic. Now, one of the other things that I think is fantastic that I know I'm shopping in one of your stores, I'm always excited to see other local brands. And one thing that we had talked about a little bit before we started this taping was that you are really dedicated to supporting other local brands. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing to support other local brands?
Yeah, so we actually were the original Made in DC retail location. So we had started purchasing from folks like the Capital Candy Jar and from local t-shirt makers and local glass makers. And so what we're hoping to do now, or what we're planning on doing as a result of the pandemic and wanting to really do more to support local businesses, is launch an e-commerce site that will give folks a platform to sell their stuff if they're super tiny. So we buy from card makers, for example, and we bring them into the store and we give them shelf space, but we know we can't do that for all of the vendors we would like to support.
Well, and I think that sometimes people see a name like Ace Hardware and they think they might not be supporting local. And so talk to us about, how that's not really the case with Ace, with the local Ace Hardware franchise.
Sure. So as a member of the co-op, we have a purchasing requirement that we have to buy a certain amount from Ace every year. And frankly, that percentage is very tiny. I mean, they have a lot of support structure for a small business. It just makes it easier to operate. So for example, we have about 35,000 unique items in our hardware store. And if I had to pay every single vendor, I would spend days just paying bills. So I buy most of those products through Ace and I just pay them and they deal with all of the back end paperwork for all of the vendors. But because we only have to buy a very small percentage from them, we get a chance to do a lot of really unique things outside of that Ace network. Our growers, for example, all of the herbs, vegetables, plants, houseplants that we buy, 95% of those are local growers to Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. And we have the ability to do that. So a lot of people, they one, confuse the co-op with the franchise, and two, assume that we have mandates for the things that we're getting. But we probably get about 80% of our products come through that distribution channel with Ace. And then the other 20%, we just do a lot of really cool local things.
Wow, and I think that's important because especially in these times where we know that we have a lot of local people and a lot of local businesses that we want to support. I think it's really important to make sure that we're keeping as many dollars locally as we possibly can. And I think you've got an online website that you've got up and operating, and that's going to be expanding soon. Right?
Yes, that is absolutely the plan. Yes.
So I think tell everybody your website and we'll
Ace Hardware. It's acehardwaredc.com.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So we're not seeing a lot of women in hardware stores, are we?
Owning them or shopping them?
Yes,
owning them. No, but I have been told that this region, the Delmarva region, has a higher concentration of female hardware store owners than anywhere else in the country. I suppose that hasn't been statistically validated, but I just know, like, there's a woman that owns the store in Annapolis, and there's another female owner here in Washington, in Brookland, Annie Strom, and my friend Margaret's in Ellicott City, and the Pitkins twins or sisters are in Woodbridge. So there's a very strong concentration here of women owning hardware stores. Yes.
Well, I consider myself a handy woman. So, you know, I was telling you earlier, I got a hammer for Mother's Day. So I think that
I love it.
So
We,
now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we have ladies' nights at several of our stores every year, and it's always really great to see, and it's always hundreds. So hundreds of women in the hardware store talking to our nuts and bolts vendor and talking to the power tool guys and firing up chainsaws and using all of the tools that, I don't know about you, but my dad is super handy, but he never taught me how to do this stuff. And so I don't think that that's very unusual for a woman to not have been taught those things. And so it's fun now to be able to learn those things myself, because it's a continual learning process, and then teach others.
So we were 3 daughters. So he only had daughters to choose. And so my dad was different. He was like, come on, girls.
Nice.
This is a Phillips head. This is a flat head. This is a plumb line. This is how we're doing this. You're gonna know how to do this stuff. So nice. That's how we learned. Now, you have had this franchise since 2003.
Correct.
And so, you know, you've been through a few different things, never a global pandemic. Let me ask you though, as a seasoned business owner, you know, I wonder, do you have any advice for other business owners that are watching this?
Well, we learned as we went. So that was the challenge, right? And I think we made sure we did a couple things as we were learning. We made sure that we had open communication with all of the managers. So we started 3 times a week conference calls so that someone could say, this is what we're seeing in Baltimore. This is what it feels like in Tacoma Park. These are the things people are asking for in Petworth, for example. So we really opened up the communication channels with our managers. We thought we were good before, but now we were just really on top of pestering everybody and getting feedback. We started brainstorming things that we thought we were going to run out of very quickly, and then immediately set the buyers on our team looking for, in some cases, local sources to supply masks or hand sanitizer, and just try to anticipate what's coming next. So for the folks who are getting back open, I think there have been a lot of good publications put out, like by the Main Streets program, and I'm sure your organization, your department, what to have in place, how to prepare your staff with PPE. So we've been telling a lot of the neighboring businesses, look, these are the plexiglass shields and how we've learned what they need to look like. These are the types of things that your customers are going to ask for and safety measures they're going to expect. So yes, oh sorry, my husband was popping in to ask me a question. So I think that the best plan for the folks who are opening back up is really just keep their ears open. Don't assume they know the answer. I didn't know anything. And I think the first thing we said was, wow, we've never done this before. We have no clue what we're doing. Let's just sponge it all up. Let's not assume we know what we need to do.
Right. Well, you know, and I think that speaks to what we're all seeing. I think having never been through a global pandemic, I think we're all realizing that these are unprecedented times. And we're all learning a lot of this together. You know, now how have you seen your industry change? Have you seen anything that has surprised you or?
A lot of things, actually. More of our customers wanted online service or curbside service. One of the funny things that we learned actually is, you know, a big chunk of our customers don't drive. And I had lots of customers say, I don't understand how I place a curbside order if I don't drive. And, you know, it never occurred to me. I'm like, I'm just going to bring it out to the curb. You could be walking your dog and I'm going to bring you a curbside order. So we had a lot of fun conversations, like trying to educate our customers on what curbside means. But I would say from a technology standpoint, we realized that we were never prepared. ACE as a co-op was not prepared for the onslaught of e-commerce orders that we got. And then just to make that super local, my phone systems, for example, were not prepared for the number of calls that we were going to get. So we implemented a texting app so customers could text us at some of our stores. And then we had to instruct our staff on how to text and what good communication is when you're texting, because, you know, we get so used to texting one-word answers, but that's not good customer service or professional customer service. And so immediately we had to start talking about, well, what does a professional text look like? And how many times do you text before you pick up the phone? And so probably technology has been the biggest challenge in our industry and what we've learned the most from. Yeah, probably. I could go on. There's so many things.
Yeah, no, it's well, and I think it continues to evolve, right? I think that's the other piece. And in 3 short months, I think we've seen iterations and upon iterations that we would never have have anticipated as soon ago as February.
No, the supply chain. I wouldn't say the supply chain fell apart, but we went from nobody had masks and hand sanitizer, so folks like Cotton and Reed and Compass Coffee started making hand sanitizer, to the supply chain sort of catching back up, and then all of a sudden there were no puzzles, and everybody wanted chairs and outdoor patio sets and fire pits and canning jars and basil plants, and every week it felt like the supply chain was
Something else.
losing its grip on something else. Yeah.
Yeast. Everybody was making all this bread.
No flour. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't anticipate most of that stuff. The canning jars we did anticipate, because we knew all of these people growing vegetables this year were probably going to start canning them. But still, what do we do about it? I can't manufacture canning jars myself. So we immediately start looking for more, but it doesn't mean we're going to be able to meet the demand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I think that the most important thing is that we keep talking about it and that we keep figuring it out together. And I think that the purpose of these series is to talk to experienced people like you and to stay open about the fact that we are learning together.
Yes.
We're going to keep turning corners, and then we're going to keep learning together. We're not going to have figured it out until it's figured out. But I think that the more that we talk, the more we will know. And that's the reason that we're doing this series, right?
Agreed. Well, and I think that I tell my staff every day, like, this is not the time to get complacent, because we're not out of this. There's not a magic button that says the pandemic is over and everything's fine. And so we have to look out for our neighbors and keep talking about it, because we might still be having the same conversation 3 months from now. So we have to make sure it doesn't get
correct.
Stale.
Stay vigilant, right? And God forbid, flu season, like we really don't know.
Right.
So we kind of stay vigilant and stay at it. So Gina, tell us your website again.
It's acehardwaredc.com, like District of Columbia.
Wonderful. And you do delivery?
We offer delivery. We have a paid delivery service that runs out of our Capitol Hill store and our Tenleytown location, so we can do deliveries, yes. We typically have lots of services. Some of them have had to slow down during the pandemic, but we're getting ready to relaunch most of them, like screen repair and car key cutting and things like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and we might invite you back to see how things are going in another few months and see what other kinds of lessons you might share with us as we get into phase 2 and beyond. And thank you for the work you do. Thank you for your dedication to your employees and to the industry. And we wish you all the best as we continue to forge ahead.
Thank you. I really appreciate being asked to participate. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm Kristi Whitfield. I'm the Director of the Department of Small Local Business Development, and this is our Build Back Better series. Thank you so much for watching.